ultimately, everyone, that brings me into the third point of this process of letting go of the past, and that is simply following the advice that God gives us. And that is going to take place in 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 11 through 19. And everyone, as I said before, it's a little read, but I'm going to try to get through this as fast as possible. And so it says here, starting in verse 11, then a great and a powerful wind tore the mountains apart and scattered the rocks before the Lord, but the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face and went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. Then a voice said to him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He replied, "I have been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, torn down your altars, and put your prophets to death with the sword. I am the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me too." The Lord said to him, "Go back the way you came and go to the desert of Damascus. When you get there, anoint Hazael king over Aram. Also anoint Jehu, son of Nimshi, king over Israel, and anoint Elisha, son of Shaphat of Abram-Mahaliah, to succeed you as prophet. Jehu will put to death anyone who escapes the sword of Hazael, and Elijah will put to death anyone who escapes the sword of Jehu. Yet I have reserved 7,000 in Israel, all whose knees have not bowed down to Baal and whose mouths have not kissed him." And so here, as you can see, everyone, the beautiful part about this story is that God doesn't appear first off in wind. He doesn't appear in the fire. He doesn't appear in the earthquake, but he comes as a gentle whisper. And here, when you look at the word voice in this translation, it represents the same voice that was in the garden with Adam and Eve in the book of Genesis. So this leads me to believe that God not only appeared like his presence was there, but God himself was actually there on the mountain with Elijah, which shows you, number one, just how personal and comforting that God is, that he will personally come into, the issues of Elijah and our issues to address the stuff that's going on. And the second thing that's interesting here is, once again, it kind of replays what's been happening before. Like Elijah goes to God, or in this case, God comes to Elijah. God asks him what's going on. Elijah tells him everything that's on his heart. He pours out, his insecurities and his flaws and his failures and his mistakes. He gives him literally everything. And now God gives him the solution to his problem, to go and anoint Elisha to succeed you as a prophet, and go anoint Jehu as the king of Israel, which ultimately resolves all of the issues that he had, because at the beginning of the story, Elijah was running for his life because, his life was threatened by Queen Jezebel. And also Elijah felt alone because he felt like he was the only prophet that was following God. But in one sentence, in one statement, God resolved literally everything that was going on. And everyone, that really is the key to being free from the past, is, expressing your feelings and expressions to God, and then following the advice that he gives you. Because although you can't go back and change the stuff that's happened, there's no way for you to undo the things that you did. You can have a better future by following the advice and the comfort that he gives you. And there's nothing that is more, I would assume to say better than that, because God is truly able to make everything work according to our good, but we have to be willing to follow him and to let go of our past mistakes and expectations and failures and any other thing that would try to hinder us from enjoying the present time and the future that he desires to give us. And I'm telling you that because even in my situation, although I had those times where I wanted to give up completely, and times where I just wanted to utterly confront my former pastor for the stuff that happened, the Lord truly wanted me to wait in that situation. And as I said before, like, he assured me that everything was going to work out the way that it was supposed to. And over time, ironically, many of the community leaders, all of them actually ended up coming to me that he spoke to and reassured me that they were on my side, that they didn't believe the words that he said, and that they were with me every step of the way, and that there was nothing to fear because, I've been doing this stuff for so long that people know my actual character. And so ultimately, everyone, although I was hurt for a long time, although I was worried to some extent about, how that would work in the ministry community, because, we have a very small community. Everyone kind of knows everybody. And once your name gets like dragged through the mud, like everybody knows, but even that stuff was worked out by the Lord, and it just shows, and it's just a testament to how amazing He really is. Because even in the situations of your life that you don't know how to overcome, He will literally work them out if you just follow the advice that He gives you. And so today, I'm able to do all of the stuff that I'm doing now. I'm able to have all of the partnerships, collaborations with other ministry leaders and stuff that I do because of this one situation of me going through that difficult time, going into ministry and church hurt and leadership, and really allowing God to work those things out and being willing to follow the advice that He gave me. And it's by doing those three things that God allowed it to work together for my good. And now I have an amazing life because of the things that I decided to make during that time. And so ultimately